15 miles from Jerusalem rests a sun-scourged plain, bordered by rocky mountains and perilous cliffs. In 1947, a Bedouin boy, while searching for a strayed goat, cast a stone among the cliffs into a cave. To his surprise, he heard the sound of shattering pottery. On this program, Zolo Levitt examines the remarkable find taken from that cave, the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Shalom, hello again. We're taping in my home today, and there's a special reason for that. This is a very special day. This is November 8th, 1991, the day of the second written revelation of Jesus Christ. Crazy statement. Let me define myself. This morning's paper came out, the Dallas Morning News that I read, and the New York Times, which I also take, with the story of the Dead Sea Scrolls, mentioning the death of a messianic leader in the first century. And this material that has been suppressed for more than 40 years is suddenly revealed, and it is a written text about the mission and ministry of Jesus Christ outside of the New Testament. There's never been another one. As I say, it's the first written revelation of Christ since John finished the book of Revelation on Patmos in 96 A.D. That's a pretty long stretch, some 19th century. So that was pretty exciting. As I read the articles and thought it over, I made some phone calls, and I thought, well, this is very important. I talked to some friends and finally called the crew together and called the printer and delayed we were just sending out a Levitt letter extra all about the Peace Conference, the Madrid Peace Conference, and so on, a wrap-up of that. But really, this is so very much more important. There's nothing more important than this. I have, in my lifetime, not seen a more significant biblical revelation than this. So we stopped everything. I'm adding a couple of pages to the LLX, and I'm making this program today and going to try to get it to most of you this week, and hopefully even some of you tomorrow and the next day. We're going to uplink this program on satellite as fast as we can. Now, to begin with and to orient you to the topic, I'm going to go back to footage from a program we made in 1983 at the Dead Sea Scrolls Museum. And there we looked at the original Dead Sea Scrolls. They're behind glass, kept there. And we're going to actually meet the curator of the museum, Magan Broshi, and he is going to read to us, word for word, from Isaiah 53, the prophecy that is very much brought out in the new material that's revealed from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So we'll look at that former footage, and then I'll be back with you after this.
You can see behind me in the distance is the Knesset, where the Israeli parliament meets, and then in the foreground the white dome, which looks like the top of a jar, and that's what it's meant to look like. The Dead Sea Scrolls are in there, and when they were discovered in caves by the Dead Seas, they were in clay pots, in jars with lids that looked just like that. And you know, they were discovered in 1947 to begin with, and then for several years after that they found more and more. A whole book of Isaiah, some of Habakkuk and Daniel, and a great many scrolls of the sectarian writings of the sect known as the Essenes. John the Baptist was associated with them. They were the religious zealots of their time, and I don't know if there's ever been any like them. They thought the temple was defiled, Jerusalem was unclean, they didn't want to participate in worship there. They gave their lives to self-denial, self-mortification before God, confession, baptism for the remission of sins, very, very strict doctrines. And some people say Jesus owed some of his teachings to them. I don't think so. The Lord was quite different. He participated in the world. He was accused of being with the publicans and sinners, and he said it's the sick that need a physician. It's those people he came to save. He was hardly an Essene. But in any case, the writings that they did, the meticulous care they took with them, helped prove that the Bibles that we use today are quite accurate. The book of Isaiah in there, for example, supports the Isaiah translation you might buy in an American drugstore today. A very fascinating thing. Now, we've arranged an interview with the brilliant curator of this museum, to give us some more information. So here we are at Isaiah 53, if you'd be kind enough to read.
מי האמין לשמועתנו וזרוע אדוני אל מי נגלת?
Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?
ויעל כי יונק לפניו וכשורש מארץ צייה.
For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground.
לא תואר לו ולא הדר, ונראינו ולא מראה ונחמדנו, נבזה וחדל אישים, ואיש מכאובות ויודע חולי, וכמסתר פנים ממנו, ונבזהו ולא חשבנו.
He hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not.
Right.
Now, how close is you speak English and Hebrew perfectly. How close is this English translation that I buy in the United States to this Dead Sea Scroll found in the caves of Qumran?
To begin with, it's the same text that we have in the Hebrew Bibles to this very day.
Yes.
In this particular case, there is a matter of spelling, but not really the content. The same words, the same letters. Now, no real difference.
No
it's
real
exactly the Bible that you have at home.
How do you account for the idea that if I take a King James Bible that's only 400 years old, and say a Living Bible is a modern American, in only 4 centuries, I really have a lot of changes. The language is quite different. Whereas we're skipping from 200-300 years before the Christian era all the way over to what we're translating, and there's almost not a letter difference. Did the scholars have...
Well, the difference that you have, if you have the King James or the Revised Version or the Jewish Publication Society version, there are many versions. This always happens with the translation. I mean, no translation is 100% satisfactory, especially when we now, at the end of the 20th century, know much more about the ancient Hebrew language than the scholars a century ago or 4 centuries ago used to know.
Yeah.
But the point that the Bible has been preserved unchanged is due to the fact that the people, the copyists, regarded it as a holy book that one wrong letter spoils the whole work. We use handwritten Pentateuchs. You are not allowed to use in the synagogues for reading the law, the 5 books of Moses, a printed book. So we have scribes this very day, they do the work, and if you see them how they do it, before they start the work, they go and have a ritual bath. It's not an hygienic business. I mean, they have a ritual bath to prepare themselves spiritually for the job.
You know, the chapter, Isaiah 53, begins with the verse, "Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?" And I understand that verse better today than I ever did before. The arm of the Lord is revealed to believers, and to believe the report about it takes a little bit of Bible knowledge. Probably the most important revelation of at